Tag, fellows! I'm Emma Healy, and I'm going to be your guide on this Somewhat True Hollywood Story Ingmar Bergman edition, not to be confused with the upcoming feature film Emma and Bevan's Somewhat True Hollywood Story Shmomo Baggins edition, due sometime this summer on YouTube. So you want to know about Ingmar Bergman. Whoop-dee-dee.
Born July 14, 1918 in Uppsala, Sweden, to Eric Bergman and his wife Karin, Ernst Ingmar Bergman was brought up in a religious and disciplined household. When he was young, Bergman was given an old projector that became known as his magic lantern, with which he would use to produce plays in his own puppet theater. It seemed that even at an early age, Bergman was destined to direct. In his autobiography, Laterna Magica, he described a visit one summer to Germany, where Bergman saw Adolf Hitler, and as he confessed later in his life, found that he was on Hitler's side, delighted by his success and saddened by his defeats. His relationship with his parents, his upbringing, and his brush with the most notorious dictator in history were all significant sources of inspiration that appear in many of Bergman's plays and directing. Ingmar Bergman entered Stockholm University in 1937 to study art and literature. There, he became obsessed with theater and longed to employ some techniques using complex machinery and lighting in a better-equipped theater. He got his chance when he was asked to work at a Stockholm theater, during which he wrote a few plays, such as Casper's Death in 1942. Then, in 1944, at 26, Bergman became the youngest theater manager in Europe for the Helsingborg City Theatre in Sweden. Over 2 seasons, Bergman directed a total of 9 productions, and all but 3 were written by Swedish playwrights. In 1946, Bergman was hired by the Gothenburg City Theatre. Here, learning to work the mechanics of a theater more complicated than any he had ever known, Bergman made a grievous mistake when putting on a production of Macbeth. The set was apparently stunning, but as one critic said, the sensations keep our attention alive, but they distract our gaze from the faces of the actors, which ought to be the true focus of our attention. And so, after longing to utilize the technology of grander facilities, Bergman learned from his experimentation. He didn't make the same mistake again. Over the years, Bergman went on to direct many more plays in various theaters, but, as he once stated, "I have plays that follow me, that pursue me through the years, and my view of these changes," he says. "I discover new attitudes toward the text and create new performances." Unfortunately, this is the end of Bergman's solely theatrical career, and in 1944 debuted as a screenwriter, and then in 1949 wrote and directed The Devil's Wanton. Bergman went on to become one of the most famous film directors of all time, working with actors such as Ingmar Bergman, and was nominated for several Oscars for Best Director or Writer. After a long and fruitful career, Ingmar Bergman went to Paradise Island on July 30, 2007. His going was a loss felt worldwide. As with most directors, Ingmar Bergman was not without his trademarks, which were present in both his stage productions and films. He enjoyed playing with light and shadows and is often described as having sets that emphasize the contrast between light and dark. In his films, because they were primarily black and white, he would make use of the different shadows of light and dark in order to present an engaging picture. He also, as he learned from Macbeth, never let anything pull attention away from the actor. The set could still be exquisite and complicated, but by staging the actors far downstage, or keeping them in positions that counteracted the set, he was able to keep the focus on the actor, who he said was the best medium to translate the message of the play. Bergman also used recurring themes in his plays and films, many of which he drew on experiences from his own life to motivate. His second production of Macbeth was an anti-Nazi play. The the theme of battling totalitarianism could often be found in his productions. He also enjoyed showing audiences how men and women failed to communicate with each other, as shown in many of Ibsen's plays he chose to do, such as A Doll's House and Hedda Gabler. The existence of God was another important theme, which can be seen in nearly every one of his plays in one form or another. His religious background and future atheistic attitude towards religion was the base for this recurrent theme.
Hey, ow.
Though many people knew that Ingmar Bergman was a genius director, it was never so much confirmed as when he went to Paradise Island. People realized how much he had impacted modern theater and film. Unlike many other directors, Bergman was not afraid to show the bleak and despairing reality of truth. He explored all facets of the human condition, from love to virginity to death. This was a trend that modern playwrights and directors followed during and after Bergman. He also invented Swedish fish.
Well, I hope you've enjoyed this Somewhat True Hollywood Story Ingmar Bergman edition. I'm your host, Emma Healy. I hope you've learned a lot from this little presentation, and I hope you never come in my suite again. You've invaded my personal bubble. If you ever come again, I'll punch you in your face hole. Gladly. Thank you. One last thing. I hope that you didn't think this was going to be a classy sort of film or anything. It kind of looked like it in the beginning, but that was just a fluke.